Hi, everybody. This is Non-Duality Talk. I'm Jerry Katz. My guest is Cheryl Abram. Cheryl lives in Northern Virginia, where she works full-time for the federal government. Originally, Cheryl's from Louisiana. And Cheryl, you have four children, and you're the author of Firing God, which is a really good book. You've been going out giving talks about it, doing a lot of publicity for it.
Yes.
Your online presence is at cherylabram.com, and also the good Facebook group, lively group, down to earth group called Non-Duality in Everyday Living. And then you're a moderator for the diunital consciousness group, which is diunital.com. So welcome. Thanks for being there.
Thank you, Jerry. And the Facebook group is actually Non-Duality in Everyday Life.
Yeah, isn't that what I said? No?
You said living life, yeah.
If people are going to look it up, but they should look up
Yeah.
everyday life.
Yeah.
Now, today's August 2nd, 2015. On July 25th, 2015, you did an interview with Rick Archer on
Yes.
Buddha at the Gas Pump. His website is batgap.com. And so I want to ask you a couple of things. First, Rick's a seasoned interviewer, and he's very accomplished, and I like a lot of what he does. What did you like about the interview?
First, the fact that I was just on that gap, that he was interviewing me in the first place. That's Rick is one of the folks I found when I first started looking into this. And I watched a couple of people that he'd interviewed, and I was very happy to be on there. I thought it went well. I felt comfortable. I felt like I was there to do what I was asked to do, which was talk about my book. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I like doing interviews. I like talking about the book and telling people my story. So it really was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I asked you what you liked about the interview. Now I'd like to be very blunt and ask you what you didn't like about the interview.
Yeah. What I didn't like was, even though I was, I enjoyed the questions, enjoyed answering them, I did not like the fact that I, at times, felt a little discomfort. Let me say that I felt a little discomfort, and from me and from Rick. I felt that a little, especially when we got into talk involving race. It felt like that was uncharted territory. Like Cheryl, maybe you shouldn't be bringing this up right now or bringing it up in this way, but there's no way I can avoid being who I am and my experience. There's no way I can avoid talking about that. And I expected, when I did bring it up, I expected some dialogue about it. I guess I don't know why I expected that, but I did, and I didn't get it. So that was a little uncomfortable for me, and I'm sure it was for Rick as well.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with hitting your own wall. So, I mean, why should he be comfortable
Yeah,
with it?
it's gonna be, yeah.
Oh, I mean, and I guess he didn't expect that, but he did say that you were in the interview. He said that you were brought to his attention in part because you're a black woman.
Yeah.
He said that. He has great facility
Mm-hmm.
in probing the themes of non-duality, but I guess the theme of race then is harder to probe. So
Yeah, especially dealing with this subject because, there is no race and, we're one. So why are we talking about this kind of thing? Uh, yeah,
that's,
so that
I
was,
mean, yeah, and on the level of the absolute and so on, there's no race, but
mhm.
And that can be used when we talk about cognitive dissonance. It's a term used if someone gets into this study of diurnal consciousness, you'll hear cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding of it is that it's just a feeling of being uncomfortable with information.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about Thomas Jefferson, the great American leader, hugely intelligent man who contributed a lot to America, was also a slaveholder, owned slaves, and I guess a number of the black slaves bore his children. So this is cognitive dissonance. Thomas Jefferson, great man, at the same time a slave owner, who also believed that black people didn't need a lot of sleep, and therefore they could work nearly 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Need a lot. So that was part of Thomas Jefferson's cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good example, because we all have areas of some cognitive dissonance. So we need to believe a certain thing before we can move forward with a particular action. So him believing that the enslaved Africans had different attributes than he did, and were not as superior in some ways than he, or had a certain purpose, for even existing. Believing that would make it easy to, have slaves and impregnate them, and do all the things that he did, while still being a good man as far as his, the things that he did for the country, and and all of those things. So yeah, I think that's a good example. I think we can all identify with that, believing something so that we can move forward with some action that won't make us feel uncomfortable.
And thanks for explaining that better than I did. That's why I ask questions and other people do the interviews.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and I think that bears on the diurnal view to
Mm-hmm.
both and. Thomas Jefferson can be both a great man and a fool at the same time.
At the same time, yeah.
Both conscious and unconscious at the same time.
Yeah.
Now you talk about specifics that you talk about being uncomfortable. So we can talk about some specific.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Then open them up and talk about them in the way that you would have liked to.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing that is very important to me, and that brings up a lot of emotion for me, is the fact that I don't know where I come from. And in the interview, I used the example of we had an assignment in school, and we were all asked to talk about our heritage. And it came to me, one of two black people in the class, and I was not able to say, well, my great-great-grandparents came from France or Ireland or anything like that, because I have no idea. So all I could say was Louisiana, because that's all I know. I know nothing past that. And I think the camera was on me at that time while I was talking, but I saw Rick roll his eyes a little when I said that, like, yeah, it's not really a big deal. But, well, that's what he did. And we talk about this. I mean, all of what I'm saying is on the YouTube channel where, he asked a question, I addressed it and all that. So
Yeah.
Folks to feel like we're, talking behind his back or something like that. But yeah, so he rolled his eyes a little, which really, when he did that, a little something came up for me where if we were face to face, I would have definitely said something about that, because that immediately it offended me. It immediately offended me, but I didn't say anything, just went on to talk. Now, what I would have liked to have said was, why the eye roll? Like, well, what does that mean? You know, what's coming up for you that you feel like this is not important. You know, this is not something important. Although he did go on to say, you know, well, I don't put as much give that as much importance because I think I'm an evolving soul, and the way he explained it like that. But I felt like there could have been a really good conversation there if I would have stopped the purpose for which I'd gone on the show to just talk about this, and really try to explain how important it was to me and why I felt the way I did, with his reaction.
Could that be a cognitive dissonance then on his part, instead of going into your feelings and to kind of remove the discomfort by simply saying that well, genealogy isn't important to me. I mean, the interview's about you, but he said genealogy isn't important to me because I'm an evolving soul, and beyond evolution, there's simply the non-dual self. He looked at both those aspects. I mean, yeah,
Right.
you can whitewash any human problem by doing that.
Yeah.
Evolving and beyond all this, there's just nothing. There's just non-duality. And in a way, is that a way of removing an uncomfortable feeling? I mean, was he doing that? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what I can say is that the sentiment that, okay, something happened in the past. We did a very bad thing in the past. We brought people over in ways that were extremely inhumane and treated them in even more inhumane ways. But let's just forget about that. I mean, okay, you guys are here, you're living a good life, probably better than you would be if you were in Africa. So, let's just move on. It happened, it's in the past, let's leave it there, let's just move on. That attitude is everywhere, including in the African American community. So what he probably felt at that moment is common. Like even within some parts of my family, it's like, what, let's just, there's nothing we can do about it. We're here, so let's just move on and forget about it and make a better future. Learn from the past and make a better future for our kids. On the large scale, I see that's what that is. I'm angry about this still, even though I was not on the boat coming over here. Deep down at the root, I am still extremely upset. And there's a lot of hatred there as well for what happened and for what was taken away. So now what I need to believe as the one who feels that hatred, because what I need to believe is that it's all right. People make mistakes, we just move on from them. I don't deal with the hatred that's there. I don't deal with the anger that's there. I cover it over with, there's nothing I can do. It happened and there's nothing I can do about it. So let me just hope that it goes away and go on to live a good life. So I think the cognitive dissonance, when it comes to that subject, when it comes to me not knowing, I have no idea. I've tried to cover it up. People I know have tried to cover it up. Maybe Rick in the interview was saying the same thing. That's really not that important. Something else is even more important here. So I think that's universal when it comes to slavery and exactly what was done during that time.
There was a part in the interview, it was at 43 minutes, and I typed out what you said. I thought it was like the crux of the whole thing that could have really been probed and opened up the whole interview. And so can I just read what you
Sure.
said? it was about talking about your experience where you had to talk about who you are, where you're from, and you said all you knew was you were from Louisiana, and you said to grow up feeling like you don't belong and you don't know who you are. I'm reading your words right now, and that you deserve every awful thing that happens to you is an awful way to grow up, and to see that the people around you, they feel the exact same way is really hard. I mean, you're stammering. I mean, I know. I'm sorry. You're crying now. So you said, I know some beautiful, beautiful people, and they're so afraid because the belief that they're holding on to, they feel that it's all that they have, just their belief. There's no other option. And then you say, I just want to do what I can to let them know that there is an option. So when I heard that, I just want to know who these people are. Who are the beautiful, beautiful people? And to ask you about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, even hearing you read those words, I still get a little emotional about that, because not knowing who you are relies on me figuring that out by the way I'm treated, by what I'm told. So I don't know intrinsically, then I have to get that information from outside, as if the outside knows who I am. So growing up, first of all, hearing, because that's where it came first, being told that you're unworthy, you're undeserving. I mean, beaten into you every, not literally beaten, but into the mind, told all over and over and over and over again, you don't deserve to even live. You don't deserve to be here. The only reason why you are here and breathing is because someone had mercy on you, because you don't deserve it. So hearing that and hearing that and hearing that, and then seeing things that happen, in the Black community, as far as treatment by those who were deserving, who were very clearly superior, all being treated that way, and looking at behavior from the Black community when confronted with those things, the not saying anything, the just praying about it, not really standing up for ourselves in ways that we probably should, or that we should have stood up for ourselves. Just seeing all that, that tells me something about myself. Okay, so this is what I am. I am unworthy. I am less than. This more superior being holds my life in his hands, and with just a word, he can take that away, and he'd be totally justified for doing that, because I don't deserve the life anyway. That has a profound impact, as at least for me, as I grew up. So the relationships that I was in, and situations that I was in, and the feeling of disempowerment, of having absolutely no power at all. And anything I did have had to come from outside. I was empty. I had nothing. So whatever I had to come from outside, and I had to be good enough to get it. To get that. I had to be good enough to get good treatment, good enough to be picked for the team, good enough to be chosen for the scholarship, good enough to, good enough, you know, it was always, you got to be good enough. So it's exhausting. It is totally exhausting, totally exhausting. So seeing that, the moment when I saw that that is not true, I mean,